The dates and times are hyperlinked in the sophomore skin.
If you see any of these small libraries.
Hi, I'm Eliza Snyder.
And she looked at me and said, wow, you don't look like you just had a baby.
Hi Hounds, this is Mark Salanger. While we can't be on campus this semester physically, that doesn't mean we can't stay connected. I'm currently in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and I'm going to be going around the city and Boston talking about ways that you can give back to your community. I started my day off by taking a bike ride to the grocery store instead of driving. Biking and walking around your city is a great way to get to know the area better. If you see any of these small libraries, a great way to stay involved and engage in your community is by leaving a book and in return taking a book. Another great way to give back to your community is by composting as an alternative to throwing things away. This is a great way that not only helps your community, but the well-being of the earth. Supporting local businesses is a great way to give back to your community and support businesses that need your support.
Hi, I'm Eliza Snyder, and I am co-founder of Addressing the System with Savoy Adams. Our club's purpose is to spark necessary conversations behind racial injustice in our American society. Our goal is to understand, learn, and listen to the issues embedded in our American society. And to do that, Savoy and I have decided to take a plan of action, which will be in 2 phases. The first phase will be a group conversation and discussion on the issue that we will be talking about, and then the second phase will be actually engaging with the Baltimore community and taking the next steps to combat racial injustice. So some of the issues that we are going to be talking about are things like mass incarceration, racism in the education system, income disparities, and obviously as we go along, more issues will obviously be brought up, and we are open to discussing anything that the members of our club want to talk about. Our first speaker that we will be having is Brittany Young. She is the founder of Baltimore B360, which is an organization that tries to disrupt the prison pipeline. It's a really great organization that utilizes dirt bike culture. If you want to know more about that, please come to our next meeting. It'll be October 16th. And yeah, thank you so much for having me and interviewing me.
Good morning, Loyola class of 2023, and welcome to your weekday update. My name is Brian Schattle, and I'm here to provide some important information for the members of the sophomore class. First topic of the week is study abroad. Here's Peter Hope with some more information.
Thanks, Brian. This week there are some important updates to keep in mind for students interested in studying abroad. There will be multiple sessions providing important information that answer any questions that anyone may have about study abroad options. The dates and times are hyperlinked in the sophomore skim. These sessions are great chances to look at this incredible opportunity.
Thanks, Peter. Next up on the agenda, we have Emily Gilbert here to talk about some important information and deadlines for all sophomores.
Thanks, Brian. So coming up is the time for the members of Class of 2023 to declare majors. This is done by submitting a declaration of major form. All sophomores should have received an email with this form and a link to a core advising survey. The steps to declare your major are outlined in this email. Don't forget to complete the survey that was provided in this email. The deadline for major declaration is December 16th. Good luck, everyone.
Thanks, Emily. Another thing to keep in mind is to check out our class website for sophomore-specific events and initiatives. The link will be in the description. That wraps up this week's news. Once again, I am Brian Schattle. Have a wonderful week, and go Hounds.
To the hip hop, the hip it to the hip hop, you don't stop the rockin' to the bang bang boogie. Say up jump the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie to beat. Now what you hear is not a test. I'm rapping to the beat, and me, the groove, and my friends are gonna try to move your feet. You see, I am Wonder Mike, and I like to say hell.
Welcome everyone to this week's segment of Jack's Stool. So as you all know, we're not on campus for the semester, and with that being the case, One issue that has prevailed, in my opinion, is the topic of mental health. Being at home, away from friends, and that fresh Baltimore air is stressful, and it's not easy. It's tough. And I know I've been thinking a lot of what could have been this semester, and it's driving me nuts. My mental health was at its worst. It's been in a while, a few weeks ago, and I know I wasn't the only one feeling this way. With all of that, I wanted to invite Miss Abbie Rosenberg to join me on Jack's Stool today to talk about mental health. Abbie is the mother of Loyola's own Evan James Sazitsky, my brother and best friend. So Abbie, how are you today?
Doing okay under the circumstances. Thanks so much for having me here.
Yeah, my pleasure. So do you mind just telling us a little bit about what you do?
Sure. I am a nurse practitioner and a psychologist, and I have a private practice where I see patients of all ages and do therapy, and if indicated, I also prescribe medications for psychiatric illnesses. I do a lot of therapy on transitions, change, things like now, very stressful that we're going through. In the past year, I've cut down my private practice and also left the university where I worked for 13 years, Lesley University. So I cut back on all of that because I wanted to make a bigger impact, and thus the birth of my new nonprofit organization, Mental Health Collaborative.
And do you mind just telling us a little bit about what Mental Health Collaborative is?
We are a nonprofit organization. We were born out of a patient of mine who I saw for many, many years, who unfortunately died of suicide a few years ago. And in his will, he specifically mentioned that he had suffered silently for years and years and years until he met me with depression and anxiety, and that I had helped him a lot. And his wish in his will was that I spread that word so that people did not have to suffer as long as he did silently. So I wanted to honor his memory and started researching where the need was. And I really felt very passionate and strongly that there's a huge need for education and awareness about mental health and mental illness.
Yeah, most definitely. So also make sure you guys follow at Mental Health Collaborative on Instagram. Evan, Abbie's son and my best friend, he's intending on starting a mental health collaborative chapter at Loyola, so be on the lookout for that, probably next semester when we get back on campus. So transitioning a little bit, this time, as you know, it's not easy for college students being at home instead of being on campus. What's some advice you would have for students dealing with mental health issues at home in the hopes of going back to school?
Yeah, I so hope that you all go back to school in the spring semester. I think there's a lot of advice I could give. I think sometimes it's just getting back to basics, which is getting enough, taking care of yourself and the people you care about. So really getting back to basics with things like sleep, nutrition, exercise, getting movement. Those things seem really basic, but they're really, really important when you're struggling with your mental health. So I would point out those things. I also think helping other people can sometimes get you out of your own head and give you a little perspective on that, there's always someone better off than you, especially if you look on Instagram, but there's also people suffering, and, having real connections, not just on social media, but picking up the phone or doing a real FaceTime, and really having trusting relationships, people that you can really be yourself with and take off that happy face if you're feeling down or stressed or sad. We all are struggling right now to varying degrees. And so being able to be real with your friends and your family, having some good trusting relationships that are supportive is probably one of the most important pieces of advice I can give. And being kind, being kind to yourself. We have like 50 to 80,000 thoughts in our brains per hour. We got tons of thoughts, and most of them, unfortunately, are negative. So really paying attention to how you talk to yourself and how you talk to your friends, and support your friends as well. And I'll say one other thing. I know you have a lot of, even though they're virtual right now, but when you get back to campus and virtually right now at Loyola, I know there's some great resources with for mental health, for counseling, even for educational issues around having to do everything online. So Loyola has a lot of great support. So I would use them, use other supports that you have. One of the biggest things, 75% of mental illnesses. So we're all dealing with mental distress right now because of everything going on, which you referred to. But mental illnesses affect about 1 in every 5 to 6 of us. And mental illness is an actual disturbance in your brain functioning. So depression, bipolar disorder, anxiety disorders, which is very different than feeling sad or feeling anxious, which we all get. But, I think one of the most important things I can say is to know when you need help. So know, and then get the help that you need. So what I was going to say is that 1 in every 5 to 6 of us can have a mental illness. And if you had asthma and you couldn't breathe, you wouldn't wait to go to the doctor. You'd go to the doctor and get medicine. But because of the stigma, many people don't get the help they need. And mental illness, just like asthma, is treatable, and people can live very healthy, normal lives with mental illness, but you need the treatment. So what I was getting to was that 75% of all mental illnesses can be diagnosed, have symptoms before the age of 25. And that's a huge number. So, but there's an 8 to 10 year lag between the onset of those symptoms and when people generally get help. So that's education, and that's what Mental Health Collaborative does. We give mental health education and awareness seminars and presentations, and we do them all virtually right now too, to young adults, to community members and parents, to schools. So that's our mission, is to spread mental health literacy just like we spread all other types of literacy.
So just kind of to close and wrap up a little bit here, do you have any last advice for people who will be watching this about mental health in general that you think is vital and important?
I think just not being alone, being a mental health ally or advocate for yourself and for your friends and your loved ones. So be kind to people. You never know what they're going through, and never keep a secret for someone. If they're struggling and they may think about hurting themselves, make sure to tell them you've got to get help, and just try and help take the stigma out of mental illness and allow people to get the help and support that they need, whether it's a mental illness or just plain old stress, which everyone is going through right now. No one is alone. Yeah. So you're not alone. Get help. Sign up for our website, mentalhealthcollaborative.org. And I really, really hope that we can start a chapter of Mental Health Collaborative at Loyola.
Yeah, me too. I'm really looking forward to that. And kind of changing gears here. I need like a nice, lighthearted story about like the best and funniest story about Evan.
But Evan Sasitsky, okay. That's a good one. There's lots of funny stories about Evan, but let's end it with a really funny, lighthearted one. So when Evan was in kindergarten, I got called in to talk to his teacher, just like a normal conference. And she looked at me and said, "Wow, you don't look like you just had a baby." And I was kind of confused. And I said, "Well, what do you mean, a baby?" She said, "Did you adopt? You don't look like you just were pregnant." And I said, "No, what do you mean about a baby? Evan has an older brother." And she said, "Well, Evan in circle time told us all that the baby popped out of your belly and fell down the stairs, and he caught it and saved the baby's life." So that's my funny Evan Sasitsky story of the day. There's many more of those to follow.
Oh man. Well, thank you so much, Abbie, for joining us today on Jack's Stool. Be sure to check out Sophomore Skim, our engagement survey that was in the Sophomore Skim. It's in our link in our bio on our Instagram. And make sure you follow Mental Health Collaborative on Instagram. See you next time on Jack's Stool. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jack.